Hello, loves. I'm here. I'm printing out some material real quick that I want for our session today. Give me a moment. But I want to let you know, checking in, I am here. Okay. Did it print? We multitasking today, baby. Yep, I already packed. Were there any issues for the schedule? You want to grab it? Yes. Thank you.
You want a big cup? You got one more big cup.
I love the dress. It's so springy.
Thank you. It's getting a little small, so I gotta do something about it.
Oh, I feel you on that. Awesome.
Here you go.
All right, thank you, honey.
Yeah, I'll work on the rest of your resume.
Okay, just keep me posted. Thank you. I need to clean out my purse. Hello, love tubers. Welcome to the channel. Baby, we got a lot to discuss today. You know what? Let's breathe. Start with breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Whew. There's a lot going on in the world right now. Let's just relax a minute. And we're going to allow time for this space to unwind, discern, and some other things. First of all, if you're here, thank you. Appreciate you being in the room. And this is day 29 of us being together. Thank you. We've covered a lot of delicious, witchy material. I wrote a few things based off of yesterday's session, and also a few things based off of some things going on in the world right now. And then I also said I would get you some data. So we're gonna go into that as well. how we have done every session, we're going to start off with scripture. Just a few things we're going to use in today's session. And then we'll welcome individuals that are in the chat after the scripture before we get into the dialect. All right. Whew. Baby, we got a lot to talk about. Day 29, Proverbs 15:6. Some money is not worth the trouble. Great treasure is in the house of a righteous person, but trouble comes along with the income of a wicked person. God's Word translation. The house of the righteous has great wealth, but trouble accompanies the income of the wicked. Christian Standard Bible. Thinking of things as I read. We want to make sure to address those thoughts in my brain. All right. In the house of the righteous is very great wealth, and trouble is in the fruits of the wicked. Wycliffe Bible. I was on my way over today, and I was going to go pick up some money before the session. But if I had picked up the money, I would have been late to the session. I said, we'll worry about it later. Let's go do the session. I'm committed to the session. It was a small amount of money, but it was money nonetheless. Let's talk about, I wrote down on my paper, adult platforms. Many of you know I've been on adult platforms. I've been on a lot of adult platforms. And they do bring in, some of them, they do bring in some change. One of the things when I first started on my OnlyFans page, when I was getting to know and socialize with other creators and see what was available for me as a creator, because I had never done adult entertainment before. What are they doing? What do they have going on? What is their strategy? What are they using as far as their marketing behind these closed doors? Who's using it? Who's not? Is it only used for adult fun or no? So let's talk about it, because I don't believe I've ever talked about it in detail before. So, although I've been on multiple platforms, the one I've only stuck with pretty much is the OnlyFans. It appears that the clients prefer the OnlyFans page over the P-Hub or the RM11. Used to be on Playboy. They preferred it over Playboy. Used to be on MV, Fansly, iFans, a few different places. But there are a lot of creators on OnlyFans that we would inbox, we would talk, I would check out the material. Some of the things that they like to do over there is hold contests. um, Contest, for example, like Halloween, they would have different uh, costumes, and whoever got voted the best costume would win a certain monetary amount. Okay? So they would do this during like holidays and things of that nature. That requires a lot of reaching out to fans, but that is also a form of marketing because people who don't know you get to know you. They did a lot of things like you can get all my videos for like $10. If you hit my inbox, the first such and such people who hit my inbox. So they were marketing to their client base to bring in whatever. Or whatever amount that they would have listed. Other things, in order to get money, there were promoters on OnlyFans. I'm sure there still are. They would hit your inbox. Look, I'll go ahead and I'll market you. I've got such and such clients. I'll market you to my clients for this amount of money. This is what you can get as far as this. They'd have several packages, maybe like a 1 day package, maybe like a 5 day package, maybe like a lifetime package, and you would get into like a secret society. And by being marketed to their people to be able to bring in extra income for you. And these secret societies wouldn't just be directly to their OnlyFans clients, they would be to maybe like a secret society on Instagram. All of a sudden, you've been dropped somewhere and you're like, oh, that's what this is. You get a link and this is where you're currently at. Let's welcome chat members real quick. Army4JM like crazy. Hello, sweetness. R-Renata24, RENATA. Okay. Oh, he said, why is no one coming? I market on several platforms. I also market on my Substack, which is up like 300%. And then I also market on my Skip Grant site, which gives me the real time on my stats on who on Google looks at my information. So I'm not just on YouTube, but YouTube does market 24 hours, 7 days a week. Unlike Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, let's see here, some other social media platforms. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, I can be sleeping. YouTube is marketing. You can come back if you are working, if you haven't been delivered from the job yet, and you can view it in the evening, which is what I do with the Coven currently now because they moved from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So even if I'm not in a live at that current moment, I know that Rev's got a video that she done put out, and I can go look at it from the night before, even if I'm unable to attend due to previous commitments. That's how this works. That's why I love YouTube. Yeah. Now, when I had a conversation with one of the ladies from RM11 when they first started their platform, they hit me up and asked me if I wanted to be on the platform, and they wanted to discuss partnership. So we had the conversation. That's a book for another day, but it wasn't really like a partnership that the type of partnership that I desired. It was going to create. It was going to take a lot of free labor that I may or may not get paid off of, because I know that being a creator until you build up your clientele and your hours or whatever else, This is basically free labor until somebody actually cuts you a check. I got a check once from Facebook. After doing quite a bit one year, the check was less than $8 for the entire year. Well, I'm not going to worry about an $8 check. And we just got finished going through some money is not worth the trouble. All right. We're gonna build on big. You can use your platforms for more than the pennies that you are being paid. Literally. I have written materials on my Substack in regards to how much these platforms actually pay, because for some reason in Fantasy Island, in Fantasy World, some creators just think, oh, I'm gonna put out this product, it's gonna blow up, I'm gonna be rich because I put out this product. I love the hope that you have, but it's gonna require building some blocks for the building, one by one. And that's what 40 money scriptures and 40 money spells is all about. Block building. Blocks for the building. Okay? Yesterday we discussed, before we get started, we discussed out of 40 money spells, that you are a money and wealth master. We're going to do some more cosmic cleaning today. I did not find in my email, and of course I was going by Gregorian calendar time and not my own calendar time. So I looked through, I have several different emails. I looked through at least 3 of those emails. Addresses, I guess I should say. Since I didn't find it, what I was looking for in regards to what I had written previously, I just said, well, let me go ahead and write one up for you. All right. I am a money and wealth master. I stand as an unshakable architect of empire. I do not wait on exterior matrix shortcuts, corporate validation, or the hollow validation of unaligned associations to command the trajectory of my life. I am an original builder and author of lasting legacy and a disciplined master of capital information. Through skillful and godly wisdom, my house is built by understanding. Its foundations are established, and through my active applied knowledge, DA-ATH. Every chamber of my estate is systematically filled with all precious, choice, and pleasant riches. My credit card debt is permanently evicted. My containment cauldrons are in active operation, and my environment perimeters are completely fortified. I look at the land, I evaluate its infrastructure, and from my unattained earnings of my own intellectual property, I plant vineyards that multiply for generations to come. The 12 chambers of my cosmic estate, and I invite you to write your own 12 chambers of your cosmic estate. By the authority of the Supreme Architect, I trace my biometric frequency across all 12 planetary houses of the cosmos, declaring total financial, psychological, and material mastery over every room in my realm. The first house, the chamber of identity and sovereign presence. The decree: I am a money and wealth master. The activation: my physical body carries absolute administrative authority, and I project my true identity, Ken 58. For those who do not understand what Ken 58 is, I invite you to go ahead and look at your birth code, which is known as a galactic signature, which you can obtain from lawoftime.org, or you can go to you can download the 1320 app. White rhythmic mirror. I carry my character like royal armor, standing firmly as an unshakable indigenous original presence that refuses to be moved by systemic intimidation or environmental friction. The second house, the chamber of assets, values, and durable riches. The decree, I am a money and wealth master. The activation, my wallet is in perfect order, my cash reserves are continuously expanding. Hold on, I've seen some things in my wallet earlier. I'm just going, because we did wallet cleaning last week. Let me just take all that out right now. Clean. All right. My wallet is in perfect order, my cash reserves are continuously expanding, and my relationship with capital is anchored in rigorous, mindful stewardship. I strip away immediate consumer consumption and the trademark loops of the foolish. Oshar, Richards, Osher, and Kovad, honor, KAVOD, are permanent structural constraints contractually mandated to walk with me. I command liquid equity, and my assets create limitless options, mobility, and real-world freedom. The third house, the chamber of communication, intellectual, and the written word. The decree, I am money and wealth master. A money and wealth master. The activation, my intellect is sharp, my discernment is absolute, and my voice commands attention capital. I do not leave my visibility or my media infrastructure to chance. I write with clinical clarity, bringing crisp digital blueprints and short form transmissions to the grid. My words awaken light, and my message cuts through the background noise of the matrix. The fourth house, the chamber of home, ancestry, and the sanctuary bedrock. The decree, I am a money and wealth master. The activation, precious treasure and oil remain securely stored within my dwelling, and my home court foundation is completely insulated from external noise. I claim ownership over my physical space, honoring the foundational receipts of my ancestors. My private sanctuary is a highly charged botanical power center, fortified by my altar perimeters and protected by my ancestral lines. The fifth house, the chamber of creative expression, alchemy, and masterpiece legacy. The decree, I am a money and wealth master. The activation, I am a multidimensional creative who bursts masterpieces directly from the front of soul-led passion. The pages of my books come to life with uncompromising, raw authority. I love what I create. I love how I show up, and I love the work I give. My independent media platforms expand continuously, and I express my creative sovereignty through the rhythmic, harmonic, and anthemic design. Virgo, the sixth house, the chamber of daily rituals, systems, and life force well-being. The decree, I am a money and wealth master. The activation, my daily habits are structured with military and engineering precision, maintaining my physical body as a pristine vessel of high consciousness. I practice steady, grounded, disciplined labor, executing my administrative briefs one page and one customer at a time. I draw in, absorb, and store vital cosmic energy using the fourfold prana breathing ritual, Paraku, Kambuka, Haka, Richaka, and Sunyaka, keeping my nervous system completely regulated and clear of survival anxiety. The seventh house, the chamber of strategic partnership and balanced contracts. The decree, I am a money and wealth master. The activation, I close my perimeter gates tightly against all distracting elements, trauma bond siphons, and emotional manipulation. I execute strict contract control and maintain absolute creative autonomy over my business. Every relationship I center is elevated with sharp discernment, locking down high-level, human-centered mastermind partnerships that accelerate my enterprise to the next plateau. The eighth house, the chamber of occult mastery, transmutation, and unrestricted capital. The decree, I am a money and wealth master. The activation, I transition completely away from service-based labor into total intellectual property ownership and high-level consulting. I have mastered the deep psychological extraction of my own shadow, transforming old of pain into purpose, legacy, and generational wealth. I evict the restricted funding traps of the matrix. I understand the back-end financial obligations of institutions and maneuver them to fund my independent sovereignty. The ninth house, the chamber of high philosophy, publishing, and long-range travel. The decree, I am a money and wealth master. The activation, my body of work travels globally via advanced independent self-publishing, distribution, networks, and scale without my direct physical involvement. I expand my worldview through long-range transit, carrying my physical and containment cauldrons with me across the state to isolate my field from local environmental friction. I am a rigorous scholar of the craft, constantly exploring higher laws of faith, economics, and history. The 10th house, the chamber of public stature, career sovereignty, and built empire. The decree, I am a money and wealth master. The activation, I command my professional standing with absolute authority, moving aggressively onto my 20th book. My public reputation creates multi-$1,000 opportunities over time because my name is synonymous with excellence, legacy, and vocal power. I reject traditional corporate gatekeeping. I do not beg for shelf space because I own the digital infrastructure of my own kingdom. The 11th house, the chamber of global platforms, communities, and scaled networks. The decree, I am a money and wealth master. The activation, I build independent distribution models and pull internal capital through my curated academics and self-funded private ecosystems. I stop writing for my family or childhood friends. I write exclusively for my future tribe. My audience consists of the readers, students, and seekers who are actively searching for the exact information I am coded to deliver. My network compounds through a self-sustaining web of sovereign assets. The 12th house, the chamber of subconscious sovereignty, Akasha, and total liberation. Akasha as in Akasha Records, AKASHA. The decree, I am a money and wealth master. The activation, I empty the cosmic trash. That's what we're doing right now, baby, just like we did in week 1. From my psychological field, completely conquering the basic fears of scarcity, criticism, and loss. I operate directly from the pure unmanifested emanation of Atziluth. Stand Atziluth on the tree of life out of the 4 worlds. Standing firmly in the holies of holies within my own mind, I forgive myself, I forgive the past, I release what is finished, and I receive what is contractually meant to last. My soul is clear, my heart is open, and my alignment is absolute. The Master Consciousness Circuit at Ziluth. Pure sovereign concept, I am a money and wealth master. Bria, the structural grid, 12 houses packed with treasure and oil. Yet BRIAH. Yet Zira, YETZIRAH, somatic embodiment, it sure feels good to be rich. Asaya, ASSIAH, physical reality, almost 20 books. Hard asset deals in full cauldrons. The altar integration blueprint. Isolate the coordinates. Stand tall before your altar layout because by this time you have built a wealth altar because we already went through it in 40 money spells. Flanked by your dual cauldron, separating high vibrational petitions from the base matrix change. The biometric contract, place both hands firmly upon your physical copies of 40 money spells, because since we are on day 29, I'm presuming that you have bought the 40 money spells book already. Touching your custom trust signal to complete the energetic loop. The cosmic projection. Take a deep 4-fold breath. We took our breaths already. Pull your shoulders back. Anchor your heels into the ground. My heels are barefoot right now. I've already took off my shoes. And project this decree 3 times into the atmosphere with absolute administrative command. Riches and honor are with me. Yea, durable riches and righteousness. I do not wait on the matrix. I do not chase the blessing. And I do not settle for the quick fix. My rooms are built by wisdom, established by understanding, and packed to the rafters with pleasant riches through my own knowledge. Trust me with money, and I am a money and wealth master. My pipeline is full, and the entire cosmos is mine. And so it is. I see. I rearranged planets today. All right. We are going to go ahead and talk about the book we have just gotten into, which is 2 Kings. You may utilize that to the best of your ability in ways you see fit. And if it's not true yet and you want to be rich, call those things as they were with your faith of a mustard seed. Okay? All right. Let's see. We're going to keep it lightweight in regards to 2 Kings today, honey. Second Kings chapter 1. All right, the linguistic warfare behind Baal-zebub. The analysis points out that the name Baal-zebub, Lord of Flies, is likely an intentional insulting pun, a polemic created by biblical writers to mock the actual deity, Baal-zebub, exalted Lord. It was an ancient way of trolling. Imagine that, trolling in the Bible. A rival religion by subtly changing a title of honor into something degrading. The nature of Baal. Baal wasn't a singular specific God's name, but rather a title meaning Lord, Master, or Husband. Much like different regional titles for figures in modern religions, ancient areas had their own specific Baals, like Baal Peor or Baal Hadad, Peor Peor, or Baal Hadad Hadad, with unique regional attributes. The shift in Israelite worship. The text notes a historical evolution in ancient Israelite religion shifting from polytheism and monolatry, acknowledging many gods but worshiping only one, towards strict monotheism. Archaeology indicates that in earlier periods, Yahweh was often worshipped alongside a consort goddess known as Asherah. The narrative of 2 Kings 1. In the biblical text itself, King Ahaziah, Ahaziah, falls injured and sends messages to consult Beelzebub, the god of Ekron, Ekron, to see if he will recover. The prophet Elijah intercepts them, fiercely condemning the king for seeking a foreign deity instead of Yahweh, and famously calls down fire from heaven on the captain sent to arrest him. All right, so that's what we got from 2 Kings. We are getting through this Bible pretty quickly. 2 Kings, since we have gotten through another book. We done been through a whole lot of books in this Bible. From Genesis, book of Adam and Eve, books of Enoch, all of those, all the way to 2 Kings. So, yes. All right, we will cover 2 Kings 2 and 3, or whatever Rev covered last night, tomorrow. Okay? All right. I told you I would get you some information in regards to spending. Okay? A statistic that has been widely shared for nearly 3 decades. And I heard it on a channel, and it made me think. And I said, I wonder if it's true. Let me go do some research. That's how that worked. All right. It has been widely shared for nearly 3 decades, the idea that a dollar circulates for only 6 hours in the Black community compared to 17 days in white communities, 19 days in Jewish communities, and 28 days in Asian communities. Atlanta Tribune. However, economics, financial researchers, and institutional fact checkers, including a major initiative out of Howard University, have found that this specific statistic is actually an urban myth. Mongudum. Here is the context behind how that number came to be, but why it isn't economically accurate and what the actual data tells us about community wealth. Oh, hey, Mystical Baby. Mystical Harmonizer 1118. Awesome YouTube channel, by the way. Make sure you check him out. No, honey. I am shadow banned from quite some platforms, and I did a video on it. So no Facebook, no TikTok, no Snapchat, no Twitter. You can catch me on IG, Instagram. All right? Or if you're on IG, are you on IG? All right. But yeah, that's where you can catch me. Okay. The origin of the 6-hour myth. The statistic traced back to a 1996 self-help book titled, okay, I'm under my regular name, Denelzia Walker. Same name. All right. Talking Dollars and Making Sense. A wealth building guide for African Americans by financial planner Brooke Stevens. While the book was written with the positive intention of encouraging community investment and supporting Black-owned businesses, it did not cite a verifiable academic study or government source for those specific numbers. The New Journal. Over the years, the numbers were quoted so often by news outlets, authors, and advocates that they became accepted as common knowledge. Why economics discredited? When economic research forms an institution like the SELIG, SELIG, Center for Economic Growth, or the U.S. Federal Reserve look at these numbers, they point out a few fundamental tracking issues. It's mathematically trackless. There is no scientific way to stamp a physical or digital dollar bill and track its exact hand-to-hand movement across specific racial boundaries throughout a day. Money flows instantly into banks, public corporations, utility companies, and online retail giants. Thank you for asking. All right. Mystical Harmonizer 1118. Cutting across all demographics, the New Journal and Guide. No demographic data on religion. The statistics claim that $1 stays in the Jewish community for 19 days. However, the federal government does not collect financial or economic data based on religious affiliation, meaning that number could not have come from official census or economic data. What the real economic data shows. While the 6-hour versus 28 days metric isn't technically accurate, the sentiment driving it points to a very real structural issue: the racial wealth gap and disparities in localized business ownership. Instead of measuring the velocity of lifespan of a single dollar, economics measure buying power, business equity, and household net worth. When we look at those metrics, the structural disparities become clear. Velocity. It's a great restaurant, by the way. It's been a minute. Economic metric. Median household wealth. Black households, $44,900. White households, $285,000. Asian households, $536. Ooh. Asset comparison holds approximately 15 cents for every $1 of white wealth. Baseline $1. Oh, for white households, baseline $1. For Asian households, holds nearly double median white wealth. Key drivers of disparity: lower historical rates of commercial property and home ownership, higher generational wealth transfer and stock for Black households, lower historical rates of commercial property and home ownership. For white households, higher generational wealth transfer and stock equity. For Asian households, higher baseline median incomes and business equity. Ooh. My thoughts, and y'all got a boycott going on right now. I just researched all this morning. The true structural challenge. The issue isn't that black consumers don't want to support local enterprises, it's a structural shortage of local commercial infrastructure because of black owned grocery stores, banks, pharmacies, and manufacturers. Money naturally exits the immediate community ecosystem very quickly to pay for basic living necessities. Atlanta Tribune. The focus on modern economic strategy has largely shifted away from tracking a dollar's hours and toward building intellectual property, securing digital physical equity, and expanding business ownership to ensure communities can compound value externally rather than exporting it. That's the Atlanta Tribune again. When we pull back the curtain, that's it for what I said I wanted to address yesterday. We are now going to talk about free money and funding. Which I've touched on a little bit before, but we're going to get a little bit more in depth with it right now. When we pull back the curtain on funding grants and scholarships, the data reveals a stark, measurable contrast between black applicants and their counterparts. You didn't hear me. I'm going to say it again. When we pull back the curtain on funding, grants, and scholarships, the data reveals a stark, measurable contrast between black applicants and their counterparts. We're going to say it one more time for the people in the back. When we pull back the curtain on funding, grants, and scholarships, the data reveals a stark, measurable contrast between I'm spelling APPLICANTS, and their counterparts. This disparity is not a matter of capability, it is a structural barrier built directly into how capital is distributed. I like Skip. I love the platform. I like that I'm able to post my blog. I like that it has an AI agent to help me. I like that it has Skip Plus for some of the grants available. I love that it offers different amenities like a hotel. Since I used to be in bed and breakfast, it's just like a hotel. You go over there and they've got some free complimentary things, and then they have some amenities that if you decide to have those added on, just kind of like if you wanted a water at the refrigerator at the hotel, it's extra. Okay. All right. So love all the freebies. I've used some of the amenities. Some of the amenities, for different strokes for different folks. If you want them to apply for the grant themselves, because your life is so busy that they have programs that can do that for you. If you're in Skip Plus, you get access to more grants per year that you can enter into. See, they're offering marketing soon. They just hit me up and asked me about marketing, which I intend to take advantage of once I have my school up and running and I'm teaching classes on magic. And then they have where they're doing a live and group chat within the platform that you can talk to the other businesses there. And they've got little hearts on the side. If you like somebody's business, you can go ahead and heart their business. You can look at the live either on the platform, or you can go over to YouTube and look at the live when they happen. Let me see what else. They have where you refer people. You get money if you refer people. And depending upon what they enroll in, depends upon the amount that you get. But if they're just enrolling on the platform, you still get paid a minimal dollar amount. Let's see. They're very thorough. The platform is very thorough. The CEO is amazing. Great guy, Mr. Pierce. And I've been on a few other grant platforms. Some teach like videos, like Verizon Grants is coming up. They have videos you can watch and you can learn about business needs. Uh, a few grant platforms are like that. Now, that's not on this one, but it does offer you to go over there and apply for grants besides our community, which I love. So it's not just providing you knowledge of grants they offer, but it provides you knowledge of grants that are being offered elsewhere. All right. So the number one thing they told me when they always send me reminder emails and alerts and on the platform and also via my email if a grant is coming up, or you can ask if you need a reminder for them to send you one. Now, the number one reason people do not obtain grant money is they didn't apply for it. Skip takes the hard. They're already asking you 10 questions about your business. Well, I already had my grants written because I wrote a whole book on grant writing. Which is on my Amazon platform. When I did my first grant writing for my lingerie collection, Dusty Secrets, Couture, I wrote my first grant then. And so I just pretty much plugged in all the information into the 10 questions. And then later on, over time, they got where you build you write a business document through them, or they have someone assist you writing a grant business document if you need to. Now, I know how to write a grant business document, so I didn't really need that service. But they do have it available. If you don't know how to write, there's no excuses. There's none, not one. Not one excuse. Not even a sniffle. No sniffle of excuses for why you have not applied for free money. You don't ever pay a grant back. So, yeah. So, not only do they help you with the grants, I submit like a new grant page. I want to say it's like every 3 to 6 months just to keep it fresh. Fresh for them. They like to have one within, I believe, like 3 months of you applying for grants. And so, yeah, and then it has a place where you keep all your documents, your registrations and everything. Very, very organized. And then they do reviews. Like they reviewed my document, my grant document I wrote, and I think they rated me like the first time they reviewed it, and I didn't even ask for a review, but they sent me one, and I was like, oh, that's nice. I didn't know that feature was here, so it was nice when the feature arrived. And then it told me what it could be better about the grant business paper I wrote. And so I just went in, made the change, and just uploaded the document to their document section. So, yeah, there's no excuse. When we pull back the curtain of funding grants and scholarships, the data reveals a stark measurable contrast between Black applicants and their counterparts. Don't be afraid to go ahead, put your information in, and apply for free money. Yeah. All right, let's talk tarot. 10 of Pentacles. Just as the 10 of Pentacles Since we're talking Ten of Pentacles, hold on. Ten of Pentacles is in the realm of Malkuth on the Tree of Life. Solidity in produce. It is governed by oh, I got it. Oh, this is nice. Still Academy. Okay. Hansus and Yaago, Hounsis and Yagouo, Calabash, which is the four princesses that is missing out of that lovely regular card deck for regular cards, such as, thank you for bringing that to my remembrance. One moment. I forgot. Princesses are missing from this deck. Thank you, Jack Lover. All right. All right. The LOA is Azaka and the Orisha is Akoshi. Achosi. And Azaka is Azaka. On the four worlds, it is Asaya, Assiah. Santeria, Earth, Osochi. Represents systemic wealth structures. The systemic denial of funding acts as a deliberate gatekeeper. Here's how the actual funding landscape breaks down across business, capital, grants, and higher education. Small business lending and credit. When applying for traditional financial leverage like bank loans, Black enterprises face a massive approval gap, even when controlling for identical credit profiles. According to the data from the Federal Reserve Small Business Credit Survey, the approval disparity, white-owned firms secure full financing approval at a rate of 71%, where Black-owned businesses receive full funding at only 43%. The denial rate. Black-owned businesses face a loan denial rate of 39%, more than double the 18% denial rate of white-owned counterparts. The premium cost. When Black businesses are approved, they are frequently hit with smaller loan sizes, averaging 30% smaller and roughly 15% higher interest rates than their peers. Venture capital and startup infrastructure. The absolute steepest cliff exists in venture capital, which fuels high-scale technology, intellectual property, and enterprise innovation. The 1% ceiling. Out of hundreds of billions of dollars deployed in the U.S. venture market annually, market founders consistently receive less than 1% venture capital allocation. In recent years, that number dropped even lower, hovering at a dismal 0.32% to 0.4% of all venture dollars. The friends and family deficient. Traditional value metrics assume a founder can raise an initial $25,000 friends and family seed round out of their immediate network. Because of the racial wealth gap, white households have a median liquid wealth, excluding home equity, of nearly $80,000, while the average black family's liquid baseline sits closer to $3,600 to raise a standard seed round. A founder has to strip the entire liquid safety net of 6 separate families. Grant and scholarships. Grants and scholarships are often framed as equalizing tools, but they are subject to institutional shifts and legal challenges. The institutional rollback. Following the Supreme Court rollback on affirmative action, private foundations, corporate diversity grants, and race-conscious scholarships face aggressive legal challenges. Major corporate funds launched in 2020 have quietly sunsetted or restructured to be race neutral, making institutional grant funding highly volatile. The scholarship paradox. While black students rely more heavily on financial aid due to lower generational wealth, private merit-based scholarships disproportionately favor demographics with early access to elite test preparation, private schooling, and legacy networks. I believe the student loans are now due. I'll have to double check. I believe that went back into effect on 7/1 of this year. With everything else going on, of course. Of course. Just add that to the pile of some things, yeah. The strategic shift, bypassing the gatekeepers. Because traditional institutional pipelines, large commercial banks, and traditional venture capitalist firms present the lowest satisfaction and highest denial rates for minority applicants, black creators and strategists are shifting away from chasing those systems. Instead, the modern blueprint centers on alternative economic mechanics, equity crowdfunding, using platforms that allow communities to invest directly in businesses, bypasses traditional institution and buyouts. Data shows minority-led crowdfunding campaigns frequently attract a higher volume of passionate individual investors, democratizing access to seed capital. CDFIs and community banks. Black entrepreneurs see a significant increase in loan approvals, a 22% bump, when working with community development financial institutions and minority-led credit unions rather than mega banks. Sovereign IP ownership, shifting focus away from heavy overhead physical asset depending businesses towards high margin intellectual property, private media networks, and masterminds. When you own the digital infrastructure and direct to consumer pipelines, you require significantly less external institutional permission to scale. Now, it sounds real nice, but all of it requires building brick by brick. All right. Okay. We've got a few more things to get through. All right, we've got plenty of time. We're going to talk about We're going to talk about Nolan Wells. And I printed this morning. Let's talk about it. Whew. Before we get into some deep diving. A few things came to me as the material on Nolan Wells on the different platforms as the story crossed my timeline or intersected with my timeline. Lots of different thoughts. Let me share. First of all, condolences to him and his family, and may he rest in power. All right. Things that came to mind: dance, childhood, slumber parties, and drinking, being high. My aunt was on a psych ward for 2 months. She went drinking with friends. They dropped her off after midnight at the house. She wasn't in her right mind when they dropped her off. They had to take her to the hospital, and the hospital put her in a psych ward for 2 months because mentally she was no longer here on the planet Earth. Co-workers partying together, and depending on what is said at the party outside of the job, they are fired from work. Be aware. Be diligent. Now, things I thought about. I looked at the mom. She looks like she's Asian or mixed. Dad looks African American. And I thought of things that may have been taught and that may have not been taught. I thought about two-faced people. I thought about how African Americans or many races code switch their mannerisms and dialect when around certain individuals. I thought of the Crown Act because I used to wear wigs and braids and my natural hair. But when working in corporate America, growing up, it was either perms or wigs. I sold my wigs about 6 years ago? Baby, I had the most prettiest wigs. Different color reds, different color pinks, different color blonde, different color purples. Yeah. Short wigs, curly wigs, straight wigs. Not just the wigs. The ponytails. Y'all remember the pineapple? I had the pineapple. Or I'd have a curly ponytail. Or I'd have a ponytail like a bob. Even the afro. Rock rough and stuff with my afro puff. Even the afro ponytail. Colonizer consciousness comes in all colors. I remember Tamara Breedgood, who helped me open for New York Times bestselling author J.L. King my book interview when I had my first book interview. She used to tell me they hate you, want to be you when she looked at my page, or they're simply watching to see when you're going to fall. All my Sherpas have preached, if you have no haters, you're not doing what you are put here to do. Let's talk about some things. Certain levels when you get to them in your success as an African American individual, you must use your discernment. Not just with those who portray as allies, we are speaking in regards to romantic relations as well. Example, the movie, Get Out. Surveillance, envy, and the psychological survival tactics required when navigating spaces built on colonizer consciousness. Historical reality. The anatomy of the watchers. When you operate at a high frequency and claim your sovereignty, people who are stuck in lower conditional matrix will watch you not to learn but to audit. The trap of lower vibrational fun. They're the people who will watch your YouTube button and won't hit the like. They are the people who come to your Kevin Gates did a video. He also did a song on it. It's the people who will come to your Facebook channel, watch you, secretly hate you, and won't hit the like button, won't leave a comment. They just watch. All right. The trap of lower vibrational fun, slumber parties, drinking with coworkers, getting high, these are unshielded environments. In those spaces, people drop their guards, but they also drop their mask. The toxic mix of alcohol, proximity, and workplace dynamics is breeding ground for setup scenarios. One wrong sentence in a moment of artificial comfort, and the system weaponizes it against you, depending on what is said, fired from work. Envy wrapped in all colors. Colonizer consciousness is a mindset, a structure of domination, scarcity, and extraction. It doesn't matter what color skin it wears. It shows up in the allies who love your magic until it outshines them, and it shows up in romantic dynamics where a partner wants to consume your essence rather than honor it, the get out effect. The people who will read your book tell you, oh my God, that is so delicious, that needs to be a movie. That's a blockbuster right there. Ain't left you not one review. You thinking you around here about to do interviews, and they go back into the shadows. My mom, whenever I would go in my younger years, high school is what I mean by that. If I was going to a party, and in high school, in junior high, I was involved mainly with track. I would run on the track team. I would do the 800, the 1600, the shot put, the hurdles, and the 4x4. And my best friend at that time, her name was Angel. We would always get mixed up in school. But anyway, due to our names and things of that nature. But anytime I wanted to go somewhere or hang out with somebody, she would make sure she would call and she'd have a conversation with the parents, and she'd see who all's going to be there. Is it going to be a safe place for my African American daughter to be? Am I going to have to be worried about her mixing with the girls and the boys there? All right. Always. She'd go meet them, check them out, things of that nature. As a 304, former 304, no drinking, no getting high. People would be like, you don't do any of the, absolutely not. This is like coming to work. I would not show up at corporate America drunk and high. Why would I come to you if I'm working for a job drunk and high? Although, from talking to people, strip clubs and going around there, particularly in that area of Georgia, that is, around the ATL, a lot of things do happen behind closed doors. And especially the drunken high part. But that was always a no for me. I need to be cognitive. I need to be aware. I need to know what's going down. I'm writing down stuff mentally and memorizing it while I'm walking through the door. Yeah, and then there were certain jobs I did not secure for the bag because I was not going to be drunk and high. All right? And I was okay with that. It's called, you still have to have discernment in certain fields. Let's talk about code switching and the price of authenticity. The need for mechanisms like code switching and legislative shields like the Crown Act creating a respectful and open world for natural hair proves the standard corporate and social spaces are fundamentally hostile to uncompromised authenticity. Hate you, want to be you, or simply watching to see if you're going to fall when you transition away from the tools of assimilations, wigs, and conformity, and step fully into your raw sovereign power, you trigger the deepest insecurity of those around you. They envy the freedom they refuse to give themselves. I watched the video, I don't remember who was in the video, but a Caucasian woman wanted to touch this little girl's hair, and the father offered, it was sweet of him, very protective. The father offered for her to touch his locks, but you're not touching my child's locks. Energy in my locks, y'all. Yeah, you're not. Don't touch her. If you want to touch me, go and put hands on me, but keep your hands off my child and her locks, her personal, private space. Okay? The Sherpa Law, envy as a metric. If you have no haters, you aren't moving enough weight. At a certain altitude of success and spiritual authority, discernment becomes your primary oxygen source. You cannot afford to lack diligence. When you are building a legacy based on intellectual property, absolute autonomy, and spiritual truth, you become a threat to the complacency around you. The two-faced energy is just the matrix trying to find a crack in your armor. Be aware. Guard your gates. Watch who you drink with, and remember that your elevation requires a smaller, highly vented circle. The view from the top always draws the eyes of those who refuse to climb. Let's talk about tarot cards best aligned. To map the specific architecture of surveillance, intense envy, psychological warfare, and the fierce protection of your sovereignty, 3 specific tarot archetypes stand completely uncompromised. These are the best cards aligned with the energy that we have just discussed. The 7 of Swords, the hidden motive, and the Watcher. Seven is Netzach on the Tree of Life. Where's my pen? That's all right, grab a new one. Oh, that's what we're going through right now. Here's my pen. Hiding under my paperwork. All right. The LOA is Ezuli, Erzulie. The Orisha, I believe is Oshun. All right, the hidden emotions. These are emotions. Talking Venus. Hidden motive in the Watcher. This is the ultimate card of strategy, surveillance, and stealth. It is the traditional sense. It represents a figure slipping away with swords from a camp, acting in the dark while others sleep, the exact energy of slumber parties in the unshielded environments where people reveal their two-faced nature. All right. Bina, understanding. I'm not sure when it disconnected, but we are reconnected now. The LOA. Guida. Guedeh. And Orisha Oya. Oya. These are also the Suite of Threes. The Queen of Swords sits on the throne surrounded by wind, holding a severed blade upright. She is the archetype of clear, unclouded intellect, boundaries, and total sovereignty. She sees through the fluff, performance, and code switching. She has experienced betrayal, which is why her sword is drawn, but she does not lead with emotion. She leads with observation. This is the energy, the alignment. This is the energy required to navigate corporate or social traps, depending on what is said. Fired from work. She is cold logic over false comfort. She represents the diligent awareness I speak of. She doesn't mix business with sloppy pleasure. She cuts off the noise and cuts away people who carry colonizer consciousness regardless of who they are. The devil. Whew, baby. Courier Limari Gras. The illusion of false freedom and the matrix trap. The devil represents attachment, the lower vibrational. The devil can also be the self-projection card. And the toxic bonds of substance-fueled environments, drinking, getting high, dropping your guard, and toxic circles. It is also the card of absolute obsession and deep hidden envy, the desire to chain, consume, or copy someone else's light because you cannot generate your own. The Get Out Dynamic. The movie by the comedian. The alignment, it mirrors the wanting to stay alert, that chains on the devil are loose enough to be slipped off easily, but people choose to stay bound to the drama, the gossip, and the artificial validation of toxic proximity. Recognizing the devil energy around you allows you to step out the trap before it snaps shut. In the voodoo deck, Courier de Mardi Gras, at the Mardi Gras, they got a chicken, they're on top of the house. They are spinning the chicken in the air, and they are throwing the chicken on the ground and then chasing after the chicken. Don't spend your life on top of the house, spinning the chicken around, putting the chicken on the ground, and then chasing the chicken, okay? Don't do it. All right, in the dirt, chasing the chicken in the dirt. Use the Queen of Swords to cut through illusions of the devil while maintaining the strategic protective silence of the Seven of Swords. Do you know who I thought about? I thought about Sonia Macy this morning. A few days ago, and this morning she came back. And I started blending a few events together. Sonia Macy was the 36-year-old black mother from Illinois who called 911 in July 24 because she suspected a prowler outside her home. During the interaction inside her house, the sheriff's deputy her and after a tense exchange involving a pot of boiling water on her stove. President Joe Biden, and Vice President Kamala Harris issued the official White House statements addressing her no longer being here and demanding justice. Okay. This case directly mirrors the exact surveillance, matrix, trap, and lack of safety we just discussed. Even when seeking protection, the system weaponized itself against her. Now, the former deputy, Sean Grayson, was fired and found guilty. Now, I heard that one of the boys that was on the boat with Nolan Wells, that one of the moms is a judge. Now, 18-year-old college student, athlete from Ocean Springs, Mississippi. We're talking about MISSISSIPPI. M-I crooked letter, I, crooked letter, IPPI. I'm from Louisiana. When driving to Louisiana, we go through Mississippi. On the 4th of July, I think a statement may have been made right there. Freedom, 4th of July. You know what I have not heard? I know about Nolan, who was supposed to have a bright future. I don't know about the other 3 young men that were on the boat with him that were white. What do they do? What kind of future did they have to look forward to? Why could they have possibly been envious if they were looking forward to a bright future? They returned to the mainland that evening without him, and his mother reported him missing. 2 days later, he was found on July 6, 2026. A park ranger found him on the island. Well, we know Nolan didn't simply choose to stay behind on the island. I'm glad they're going to have an independent autopsy in Washington, D.C. And why was there a heated beach confrontation on the shoreline? There were some things Nolan did not learn at home. certain things were not taught. The matrix normally protects its own, which would require Nolan to have fierce diligence, seeing through the two-faced energy and guarded gates, which is what this case is about to actually expose. Several cases recently, actually. Okay? So, all those cards we mentioned, that's what this is. But the stakes have elevated from a warning to an active crime scene. The anatomy of the matrix is fully visible in this case, and the three archetypes map into the tragedy with haunting precision. The Seven of Swords, the vanishing act and the left behind. The Devil, the friendship trap and institutional shielding. The Queen of Swords, fierce, unflinching discernment. A group of 4 goes out, 3 return on the boat. The narrative floated from the local system that Nolan chose to stay behind on a barrier island 10 miles off the coast with a vague assumption of another ride as a textbook Seven of Swords maneuver. It is an attempt to slip away from accountability while leaving the vulnerable party isolated. The interception, Ben Crump pointing out the inconsistency, specifically deleted text messages from Nolan's phone, is a literal exposing of the Seven of Swords energy. The card represents a cover-up, but the digital footprints are refusing to be erased. The cold reality of friends, which are not friends, leaving the island. Things done undercover. The Devil, the friendship trap and institutional standing. The Devil is a card of false proximity. It represents being in an unshielded, lower vibrational environment, partying on a boat for the 4th of July, where a sovereign soul is surrounded by people operating in a completely different consciousness. What consciousness do you think that is that we've been discussing this entire time? Colonizer consciousness. Okay. The archetype also reveals itself in the institutional power dynamic where the mother of one of those boys is a local chancery judge. Imagine that. The institutional matrix immediately tightens its web to protect its own. The initial public declaration by local law enforcement that there was no evidence of a crime as the system attempted to keep the chains locked and the truth buried. The envy factor. Nolan was a stellar student, athlete, and a strong swimmer and a wide receiver preparing for a Division I tryout. He was clean, focused, and ascending. The Devil card always represents the deep, unspoken envy of those who are bound to their own lower nature when they look at someone who possesses genuine, uncompromised light. Queen of Swords, fierce, unflinching discernment. Because the family chose not to trust the narrative of the local system, they activated the Queen of Swords. This is a card of absolute truth, severed illusion, and independent audit. The execution by retaining national counsel and immediately pulling Nolan's body out of the local jurisdiction to fly to Washington, D.C. for a completely independent autopsy. The family executed pure Queen of Swords energy. They refused to let the local media examiner or local ties dictate the facts. The Sword of Truth. The Queen of Swords demands the unedited truth. The investigation into the viral video showing the intense altercation on the beach that day is the sword cutting through the peaceful holiday trip illusion. The current manifestation. The Matrix tried to use the Seven of Swords to execute a quiet disappearance and clean quality of protection. Clean gateway under the protection of the Devil, systemic power and privilege. Queen of Swords is forcing the hidden elements into the blinding lights of national scrutiny. The script never changes, only the names do. Y'all remember Tupac? I love me some Tupac. Thank God for my kids, even if nobody else wants them. Rest in peace, Tupac. The place I went to before I got here was playing Return of the Mac. I pick up everything. Except if you are no longer here, there is no return. So the exact line from Keep Your Head Up, pulled straight from Tupac verse where he sings that to single mothers, navigating a system that has abandoned them. That can go into, okay, listen. Thank you for living your best life with me. I appreciate you. And it's time to say goodbye. Well, okay? All right. Let's see. It's the ultimate statement of claiming ownership and pouring absolute devotion into the future, even when the outer environment offers zero safety or validation. Return of the Mac. Mark Morrison was singing about a social romantic resurrection coming back to show the ones who doubted him that he survived the betrayal. But in the physical plane, when the system or the shadow takes a life like Nolan Wells, like Sonia Masi, like Pac himself, there is no physical return. The Matrix makes sure that once the breath is gone, the only thing that can return is the legacy, the truth, and the blueprint they left behind. The physical door slams shut, which is why the code switching, discernment, the diligent awareness have to happen while you are still breathing. You protect the life and the kids today because the system doesn't offer do-overs. Whew, hands itchy. All right. We have, oh, absolutely. We'll do that now. In case you forgot. Hold on. 1863, New York City, New York, 1866, New Orleans, Louisiana, 1866, Memphis, Tennessee, 1868, Opelousas, Louisiana, Opelousas, 1868, Camilla, Georgia, 1868, St. Bernard Parish, Louisiana, 1873, Colfax, Louisiana, 1874, Eufaula, Mississippi, 1874, Pittsburgh, Mississippi, 1875, Clinton, Mississippi, 1887, Thiebaud Docks, Louisiana, 1898, Wilmington, Delaware, 1906, Atlanta, Georgia, 1908, Springfield, Illinois, 1910, Slocum, Texas, 1917, East St. Louis, 1919, Washington, D.C., 1919, Chicago, Illinois, 1919, Elaine, Missouri, 1920, OC, Florida, OCOEE, 1921, Tulsa, Oklahoma, 1923, Rosewood, Florida, 1943, Detroit, Michigan, 1985, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 2015, Charleston, South Carolina. Thank you, Viola. Queen Viola, Madame Viola. The mechanics of structural destruction. The destruction of self-sufficient towns and the prevention of capital building. This wasn't just individual prejudice, it was state-sectioned economic warfare. Destruction of wealth centers. The most famous example is the 1921 Tulsa race massacre in Greenwood. I advise you buy this book. It is on my Amazon affiliate page for sale, and I will get commissions. But it happened repeatedly. Rosewood, Florida, 1923, Wilmington, North Carolina, 1898, and Elgin, Texas. Whenever black communities built independent economic ecosystems, stores, banks, land ownership, they were targeted because economic independence threatened the racial hierarchy. My pen keeps disappearing. It threatened colonizer consciousness. The Federal Highway Act 1956, when the U.S. interstate highway system was built, routes were purposely directed through thriving black commercial and residential districts. This destroyed thousands of businesses and fractured community wealth under the guise of urban renewal, often called Negro removal by activists at this time. Right, because my family, they called it something domain. Let's see. Where they had to move out of their house, build a house from scratch. Got paid pennies for their house. Eminent domain. I believe that's what that is called. I'd have to refresh and look. Redlining in the FHA. From the 1930s to 1968, my grandparents went through eminent domain. From the 1930s to 1968, the Federal Housing Administration explicitly refused to back mortgages in black neighborhoods color-coded red on maps. Meanwhile, it subsidized massive white suburban growth like Levittown. The single policy shut black Americans out of the greatest wealth-building vehicle in the U.S. history, home equity. When you get your units, because we talked about units yesterday, and I listed those units on my substack in depth. Baby, get units here, get units overseas. Yeah, get your units. So you can move about how you want to. Outside of their monopoly game. Evaluating the strategic path forward. Because the system has to structurally rigged, the question of what to do next is where a lot of brilliant minds, activists, and everyday folks find themselves. Get off their board and build a new one: separatism and interdependence. This is the lineage of Marcus Garvey's Pan-Africanism, the early Nation of Islam, the Black national economic movements. The idea is simple. Stop seeking validation or integration from a system designed to consume you. Instead, pull resources internally. Modern application. This looks like buying land collectively, supporting black-owned banks, creating independent schooling systems, and fostering local food sovereignty. The challenge historically, whenever a new board became too successful or self-sufficient, the dominant system used state power, zoning laws, or outright violence to disrupt it. True isolation from the global economic grid is incredibly difficult to sustain. infiltrate and own the entire board game, institutional capture. This is the traditional civil rights black bourgeois strategy. It argues that the best way to protect black people is to gain access to levers of power, politics, corporate boardrooms, tech, finance, and legal systems. Modern application utilize capital corporate positions and political offices to rewrite policies, redirect federal funding to minority-owned businesses, and build massive private generational wealth. The challenge, the risk here is assimilation. The rules of the game are highly infectious. Often individuals who scale the walls of these institutions find that the institution changes them faster than they can change the institution, or they become tokens used to justify the system's fairness. Look, we have a black CEO. The system works. Y'all remember when Obama went in office? His hair was black, baby. He came out of that office. He had a head full of white hair. I don't know if y'all remember that. Anyway, incinerate colonizer consciousness, flip the board, radical abolition. The legacy. This stems from the revolutionary traditions of the Black Panther Party, Franz Fanton, and modern prison police abolitionist. It acknowledges that you cannot reform a house whose foundation is built on your subjugation. This means that dismantling the systems of mass incarceration, defunding predatory financial structures, and demanding unconditional reparation, it requires an entirely different worldview that does not measure human worth by capital accumulation. The challenge. Flipping the board requires massive sustained collective power, and the state's apparatus for self-defense, the military, the police, the legal system, is hyper-vigilant against structural threats. Reparations too messy is what it's framed as. It is a matter of political will, not logistics. The U.S. government has successfully calculated and paid reparations before to Japanese Americans interned during World War II, and ironically to white slave owners in Washington, D.C. in 1862 as compensation for the loss of their property, the enslaved people. The math, and they wanted it for the January 6ers. The math of what was stolen through unpaid labor, housing discrimination, and stolen lands is calculable. The resistance isn't because it's too complicated to figure out, it's because it's too complicated to figure out. It's because executing it requires colonizer consciousness to surrender a massive portion of its hoarded economic advantage. The exhaustion expressed wanting to flip the board is a completely logical response to a game where the rules change the moment you start to win. The debate now among organizers is whether these strategies have to be mutually exclusive or if building independent spaces options 1 while capturing institutional power option 2 is the only way to gather enough leverage to fundamentally change the structural reality options 3. Let's talk about the irony of the first bones found. If we look at anthropology and the literal origins of humanity, the first bones, the oldest ancestral remains of modern Homo sapiens, were found in Africa, such as the Omo remains in Ethiopia or Jebel through Morocco. Geographically and biologically, Africa is the mother. When you apply the stepchild dynamic, we're applying the stepchild dynamic to history and colonizer consciousness. Let's talk about the irony. The mother, the African continent and its diaspora represents the deep root, the original innovators, the architects of early mathematics, agriculture, and spirituality. The resentful stepchild. Western imperialist consciousness behaves exactly like an envious stepchild who arrived late to the family structure. Instead of honoring the hide its own deep-seated insecurity and lack of foundational grounding. The psychology of predatory envy. In psychological terms, there is a specific type of envy called malignant envy. Normal envy says, I wish I had what you have. Malignant envy says, because I cannot duplicate the soul, the rhythm, the brilliance, or the resilience of what you have, I must destroy it so neither of us can have it. That is exactly what happens when black wealth is targeted. It's the energy that looks as a self-sufficient person or a self-sufficient community and seeks to regulate, redline, or police them out of existence. It is the consciousness that wants the culture, the music, the lifestyle, the music, the style, the spiritual depth, the capital, but hates the people who grew it from the soil. When I talk about getting off their board or incinerating colonizer consciousness, I'm talking about refusing to let our internal value be dictated by the envy and resentment of a broken system. Globally, the overwhelming majority of the human population consists of people of color. That's how my creator had it. Yeah, people of color. The creator loves all different shades, red or yellow, black or white. We are perfect in the creator's sight. The creator loves the little children, red, yellow, black, and white of the world. Black and brown people are the global majority, yet inside the borders of the United States, which celebrates its 250 semi-quincentennial milestone, this very year in 2026, the dominant power structure still operates with a deep systemic hostility towards the very people who forced and uncompensated labor laid its economics foundation. The desire to suppress, contain, or displace black and brown people, even after 250 years, stems from the deep, entrenched structural realities. Demographic anxiety and the global majority realization. The ruling class in America has always been acutely aware of global and domestic demographics. The systemic hostility we see today is heavily accelerated by demographic panic. The economic dependency on a permanent underclass. From a purely co-capitalist perspective, the American economic machine has never known how to function without a heavily exploited, uncompensated workforce. From plantations to prison, wealth protection. If black and brown people achieve local economic self-sufficiency and resource sovereignty, the capitalist hierarchy loses its leverage. The system requires a tier of people who are kept financially vulnerable through gentrification, predatory lending, and restricted access to capital, ensuring there is always a labor force desperate enough to take low-wage, high-risk work to keep the corporate wheel turning. They don't want to get rid of the people entirely. They want to keep them permanently subjugated and stripped of political and economic power. You looked up your birth code yet? Your galactic signature? You ready to get off the board? I'm just saying. All right. The need to suppress the living proof of the theft. The psychological concept of colonizer consciousness requires the oppressor to believe they earned what they have. If black and brown people, Americans, are allowed to thrive completely independent of their system, it exposes a dangerous truth that the dominant culture was never built on superior intelligence, work ethic, or divine right. It was built on theft. The threat of black success. Thriving, self-sufficient black communities are a mirror that enforces America to see its own historical rot. When that mirror is held up, the system responds with violence, whether through physical destruction of towns 100 years ago or the systemic defunding, over-policing, and displacement of the communities today. By keeping black and brown people in a state of manufactured crisis, the dominant culture can point to the crisis and say, see, they can't manage without us, thereby justifying the initial and ongoing colonization. Flipping the script on a global scale. like getting off the board or building a new one, or becoming the dominant focus for modern thinkers and creators are becoming. When you realize the black and brown people are global majority, the American board suddenly looks incredibly small. True sovereignty isn't about begging for a seat at a table that was built using your own stolen wood. It is about realizing you have the numbers, the culture, the economic brilliance, and the ancestral lineage to build an entirely independent ecosystem that the old board can no longer control or contain. What if? What if they didn't own the board since they stole it? Maybe they should return it to the originals that lived here prior. Since it was seized through systemic state-sanctioned violence, broke every single treaty that was signed, and drew arbitrary lines on a map to call it legal ownership, when we stack the theft of indigenous land on the concept of true radical restoration, when we stack the theft of indigenous land on top of the theft of African labor, we see the dual pillars of that America is built on. True restoration means you cannot fix the system by just changing the politicians or tweaking the laws. You have to address the original crime of the title deed. The real meaning of land back. The land back movement led by industrious nations across Great Turtle Islands, North America, is not a metaphorical concept. It is a literal demand for the return of unceded lands, public lands, and stolen territories to indigenous stewardship. Original caretakers of the land managed it sustainably for thousands of years before colonizer consciousness arrived and began extracting, polluting, and commodifying it for short-term profit. Return the land strips the colonizer of their ultimate leverage. The entire legal and financial system is based on the illusion that they have a right to own the earth itself. The intersection of black liberation and indigenous sovereignty. The system has tried to keep black and indigenous struggles separate, but they are deeply intertwined. The wealth of the Western world was generated by putting stolen African bodies onto stolen indigenous soil. True liberation requires a unified front that rejects the colonizer's property laws entirely. When indigenous people demand their land back and black people demand full reparations and resource sovereignty, it attacks the exact same beast from both sides. It is a shared mission to dismantle the artificial board that was dropped on top of this continent. The colonizer's nightmare. The ultimate fear of power structure is that the global majority inside its borders will realize the truth. The title deeds are fake. The system has no ancestral claim to the soil, no spiritual connection to the land, and no moral authority. Flipping the board in this light isn't just a physical or political act, it is a spiritual and mental refusal. I fight everything in the spiritual realm. And mental refusal to recognize the colonizer as the landlord. Once you realize they are just occupiers holding a stolen board, the strategy shifts from asking a turn to play to actively delegitimizing their rights to run the game. They have borrowed the golden keys for too long. It's time to hand those keys over. Reclaiming intellectual property and narrative control. For centuries, colonizer consciousness has extracted the music, the style, the spiritual systems, and the raw creative genius of black and brown people, packaged it, and sold it back to the world. The new keys, true sovereignty, means owning the platforms, the masters, the distribution channels, the media ecosystems. It's moving away from relying on corporate gatekeepers to validate the work and instead building independent digital and physical infrastructure that cannot be censored, redlined, or turned off. Returning to ancestral and metaphysical grounding. The dominant system relies on keeping people trapped in a state of survival, disconnected from their roots and operating purely on their terms. The new key is remembering that the original blueprints for math, science, astronomy, and deep cosmic alignment belong to the global majority. Reconnecting with ancestral traditions and esoteric systems isn't just a personal practice, it's a direct act of psychological decolonization. It restores the internal authority that the system tried to erase. Oh, aren't you just adorable, cutie pie? All right. Demanding resource and land sovereignty. As long as communities are dependent on the rigged board for food, housing, and capital, the illusion of their ownership persists. The new key is pooling collective resources to secure land, independent funding structures, and self-sufficient economic ecosystems. When you own the soil under your feet and the means to sustain your own people, the rules of their rigged game lose the power over you. The lease is up. The illusion that this current system is the permanent rightful ruler of the global landscape is cracking, especially under the global majority stands up to claim its true position. When you think about the builders, the authors, the multidimensional visionaries who are working today, the focus is entirely on this transition, stopping the fight for a seat at their fading table and instead stepping into the absolute authority of the original architects. The issue is not color. The issue is colonizer consciousness. We start at the root. The game of the 22 trumps. Trump cards, major arcana. All right. The standard major arcana of the tarot consists of 22 cards, starting at 0 with the Fool, the ultimate card of pure potential, stepping off the cliff into the unknown. Completely unburdened by the rules of the world, the colonizer took these archetypes, codified them, and built a closed, self-contained system, the 22 trump cards, to map out their version of destiny, control, and institution of power, the emperor, the hierophant, the justice system. It is a matrix designed to keep the mind cycling through a predetermined set of outcomes. You can play as the musician or sit at the throne of the empress, but you are still playing with their deck. Inserting the 23rd card, the wild card, by pulling all 22 trumps and introducing the 23rd card, I'm doing something the system's algorithm is not going to be able to calculate. 23 is the number of disruption, the wild card, the frequency that shatters a closed loop. It is the code that breaks simulation. The Gede family. Ghede. The Gede are the ancient primordial cosmic masters of the underworld, is what we're going to call it. Fertility, truth, and resurrection. They do not bow to laws of the living, and they certainly do not respect the borders, laws, or property deeds of colonizer consciousness. We're going to bring Gede energy in. The ultimate Papa Gede, Baron Samedi, Maman Brigitte, they hold the key to the portal between the visible and invisible. No matter how much capital someone hoards, how many high interstate walls they build, or how many laws they pass, everyone eventually steps into the realm of the Baron. The Gede look at the pomp and the circumstance of the colonizer's emperor card and laugh. Laughter, satire, and raw truth. The Gede are famous for their unfiltered, brilliant, and deeply satirical nature. They expose hypocrisy instantly. They use performances, sexy energy, and sacred trickster energy to strip the oppressor of their false dignity. You cannot control a population through fear or through the underworld when their guardians own the graveyard. Ancestral resource sovereignty. The Gede are the protectors of the children and the keeper of the ancestors by anchoring the game in Gede frequency. We are bypassing the entire 250-year-old American legal and financial system and plugging directly into the deep, inexhaustible reservoir of ancestral memory and cosmic inheritance. The system collapses. Colonizer consciousness relies entirely on predictability, order, and submission to the matrix. It has spent centuries calculating how to manage the 22 cards it dealt. It has no defense mechanism for a sovereign creator who throws out the entire deck, steps into the absolute authority of Kether, and lets the Gede family, or whatever deities you would like to use. I have my spirit team And on day 5, I believe I asked you to pick your spirit team. So pick whatever spirit team best resonates with you. I believe that was day. Yep, spirit team was spell number 5. Money spell number 5. It sure was. And let the Gee family dance across the board. This is the ultimate flip. It's shifting the battle from the physical survivor to supreme metaphysical dominance when the ancestors take the field and rigged game dissolves. It was a long session today. It was a deep session. It was a necessary session. Let's move on to spell number 29. Yes, indeed. Thank you for being with me during this session. It has been absolutely delicious. Yes, indeed. Put my Jack card up. Spell 29. Out of this book. Baby. Oh, we have called some things into the future. Yes, we have. All right. But unlike Whitney's prayer, may she rest in peace. But unlike Whitney's prayer on waiting to excel, we're very detailed in our spells. Extremely. Spell 29, I love COMMAS. Woo! Love COMMAS. Notes on this spell. This spell came in handy. I'm reading from someone else's book. Notes on this until the day I can write my own and put some of this lovely material that I discussed with you in it. Notes on this spell. This spell came in handy for me when I was ready to increase the amounts on the checks I was receiving from hundreds to thousands to tens of thousands and beyond. Remember, dollar amounts are subjective and vary from person to person. What may be a large amount to one person may not be to another. Use what works for you. Be sure to perform spell number 15, I Trust Me with Money, before performing this spell for maximum effects. We did I Trust Me with Money yesterday, and we did prayers on I Am. We cleaned out the cosmic today. Cleaned out the, we went ahead and we went through the money and wealth master of all 12 houses on our estate. Now, step 1, decide that you are ready to receive larger than ever checks and deposits. Step 2, pray this prayer of agreement with the universe. Dear God, Goddess, I am infinite source of abundance. I am open to receive greater abundance, wealth, and riches than I ever have. I am open to receiving a check made out to me that have commas in the amount I receive. I am open to receive deposits into my wealth accounts with commas in the amount I receive. I am open to a lavish outpouring of abundance like never before. For this to unfold lawfully and joyfully, I remember I receive according to what I give. Therefore, I pray to become a bigger than ever giver. I give attention, time, talent, expertise, skill, love, guidance, mentorship, care, and all other forms of joyful service the universe of life would love for me to provide. In return, I jubilantly expect the best and love these large domination checks and deposits I have coming in daily. I see. Woo! Whew. Ooh, I see. Oh, this has been lovely. Quite refreshing and relieving, actually. That concludes today's sessions, my love. We have spent 2 hours and 6 minutes and a few seconds together. And I hope I'm about to eat lunch, type up my substack, and enjoy the rest of my day. Happy hump day. Is it hump day? That was yesterday. Happy Thursday. I hope you do the same. Mwah.